Hey all, Dr. Alejandro here. This is me editing a little later. I did a live reaction on stream where someone in chat had mentioned this interview with the Dark and Darker devs, and they pointed me to a couple spots, and I decided, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's hear what they have to say and react a little bit to it, discuss based on my experiences. So I went ahead and did that. However, I did it during stream. I didn't think I was gonna make use of it otherwise, but I realized afterwards I liked how it came out, so I decided to use it for a YouTube video. Because of that, I do want to let people know the video came from a Twitch VOD, so the quality gets degraded a little bit when it comes from a Twitch VOD. Also, I was actively playing another game in the background, Frozen Flame, which doesn't actually have a pause. It's server based. So, because it came from the Twitch VOD, I'm not able to separate out the noise channels for the game. So there is a little bit of some of the background noise from the game that's going to go on during this video. Just want to let people know it's not too much, but you'll hear some extra sounds. Just want to let people know about that before we get into it. But now we'll play through what I spoke about that day. Let's go ahead and go here. Let's go to here.
Appreciate.
And they did literally like the first playtest that it was not the one most recently, the one before, if I'm not mistaken. I only got onto the tail end of that one. I probably played, I think you did it for about 4 or 5 days, and I played the last 2 or 3 of that. And
actually, let me do a quick check. So I don't have as many hours in. Oh, I can't go to library right now. 1 second. I gotta. Oh, I can't close Steam. I'm playing Frozen Flame. Never mind.
At
I
the
was gonna
start,
try and look
you
at how
could
many
just see the
hours I
graph.
have.
Like every day, it was just skyrocketing. Because when someone plays something good, it spreads like wildfire. And one of the cool things, I guess, with the whole playtest system that you've got is it leaves people wanting more. Instead of like going to the point like, when is the next stuff? I'm so burnt out. I can't play this game anymore. Like, you've actually made it in a if you continue to do it the way you're doing it, you're leaving people wanting more.
Okay, so
they definitely were leaving us wanting more.
But part of it, so doing the playtest in this manner, we're doing it right now. We have the very limited time playtest. So part of it is a strategy, but part of it is because for us, this is actual. It is an alpha for us, and there's a lot of things that we're experimenting. So I mean, my partner, the main guy, that's the creative head, that's behind everything you see in Dark and Darker being the way it is this guy SDF. And so we're always talking about, okay, what's best for Dark and Darker. And
yeah,
so
they needed to.
In terms
the
of
alphas,
the playtest,
each alpha playtest has been
developing
better.
Dark and Darker.
They've done so much work between them, and it's made it feel so much better each time.
Through our experience as developers for such a long time,
as long as they don't end up taking rapiers away from rogues,
but there's still
which they said they were doing this last playtest, but they didn't.
Okay, until we actually test our assumptions, we don't know if it's exactly right or not. And so for us, these playtests we don't understand why other companies are all not using this method, because
the playtest
for
model
sure,
is good.
Their developers, their designers probably have the same kind of question.
The one downside to the playtest model is if you start playtest too early, where the game is just not ready for the playtest, it can leave a bad taste in people's mouths. You have to make sure you start playtests when it's far enough into development that people will be good with the game. That people will enjoy what's going on. So I've played during the last Steam Next Fest. I played oh no, it was the Survival Fest. I tried a lot of demos for different survival games that were doing playtests during that, and most of them were terrible. They weren't far enough into development to be putting out playtests. Frozen Flame did playtests. They did 3 playtests before release. So they did one in July, one in August, and then one in October for Frozen Flame. And it was good, and you got to see the development as it went through, which is what Dark and Darker's doing. But I've seen games do it terribly, but the playtest model is good because it lets people get an experience with the game
but they don't have the right data
and
yet, right? And
put
so then they're
information
just going
in.
to be
And the big thing is the playtests are free. So people aren't spending $20 or $25 to buy an early access version of the game when the game isn't ready yet. That's what I liked about Frozen Flame and Darker is the playtests were free. You could get in and try the alpha stuff without spending money on it. So it doesn't leave you with this bad taste in your mouth. If you're spending money on an early access game and it's too far early access and it's not ready yet, it leaves a really bad taste in your mouth and you're like, I spent money on this. I wasted money getting this thing. But that's not the case here.
And so
both Frozen Flame and Darker did it
we
pretty well,
all these
not
questions
necessarily
or assumptions
perfectly,
that we have, and then we
but they've
actually
done it
use
really.
that,
They've done it really
alpha
well.
playtest as our test bed too. So I guess that's why each playtest has different points that we're trying to.
But that's an important thing when it comes to.
Hey, we thought this was right.
That's one of the important things when it comes to doing
we're
this.
We're like 60% sure about that, but
making sure about a lot of that stuff.
Completely 180.
Missing the point, yeah.
Missing the point. And so let's actually put it out there, and the players will tell us if we're on the right path, or if we mess something up, or we're doing
7 days
wrong.
to die. Yeah,
that
it's been a really long playtest so far, Unforgiven.
When I say they'll tell us, I'm not saying so much that they're gonna come into Discord and tell us the feedback just verbally or written, but we look at the actual data and the behavior. That's more important to us. And we're not saying that verbal feedback and
both of those things are
that
super
kind of
important.
one-to-one feedback isn't important, but
like
then for us is because
one of the things of feedback that I think they did implement well is it was hard to do escapes before. Like there weren't enough escape portals, so they've started adding in. They didn't add many, but one of the hotfixes they did in this last playtest, they started adding in a slight increase in number of escape portals. Oh yeah, no, TFP not so much. Yeah, TFP for 7 days to die does things. Some things they do are great, some things they do are eh. Really, I want them to focus on the big thing I want from TFP is just optimization. I want them to optimize the game more so it's easier on folks to play with decent graphic settings. But yeah, no, they made a lot of changes in this hotfix that felt really good. A lot of the formulas feel pretty good.
I don't, just like
combat.
Me personally, I'm just
combat
like
is
numbers,
quick, but it's not.
Because it's a way that you can go. Okay, these are the things we want to test.
Because that's something that happens like
DayZ.
DayZ.
You can react to it.
That's one of the things, like DayZ PvP servers. You have a bunch of snipers and you get hit once with a sniper and you're down. And a lot of the gun games when it comes to PvP, the PvP goes too quick, so it's really hard to turn it around unless the person who like I said, late game Rust PvP and late game and higher end DayZ PvP. You die so quick that unless the person who's attacking you is bad, it's going to be really hard to turn it around. But with Darker, the PvP in that, it still can be really fast. Like, it doesn't last very long. But you have the opportunity to do outplays and outmaneuvers because it lasts just long enough for you to have a chance at turning around. Like, if you get ambushed, you have a chance. I mean, you can get ambushed by rogues and not have a chance. I've had that happen many times, where I was looting a chest, got attacked by a rogue, and because I was in the chest, it took me too long to get out of it to start attacking back. But there are chances. You can still get caught with your pants down and get trapped, but it's not as bad.
But at the same time, we're not saying like that emotional response is just as important. So, okay, one example, the very, very first playtest, what we really wanted to test out was the darkness. Because, okay, the title of the game is Darker, and we knew we wanted
darkness
the game
is super important in the game.
You could use darkness as a game mechanic itself, right?
You can.
But then
the clip I showed earlier was me using darkness as a game mechanic.
War between like, okay, do we want to have it like pitch black? But then it's not.
I like what they've done.
Yeah,
the torches provide
so
a decent amount of light.
Comments
and you
someone
can turn the
said back
torches
then
on
was,
and off, the ones on
"Oh,
the
the game looks
walls,
like a
to
PS2 game."
create
And I was like,
darkness.
"Oh man, you know."
Which is
Then
what
do we want
I
to
finally
make
got
it
into.
look a lot
The
prettier?
playtest
And
before this
so
last one, I wasn't good at
we
doing that. In this playtest, I
experimented with
learned,
a lot of different
and
kind
I
of
started making
lighting
use of
options and
darkness.
how
Whenever I need a
dark we
chance
can
to
make the
rest for a
game.
second, a
So
bandage up,
in the
or
very
as a wizard, if I need to do
first playtest,
meditation,
I guess
you
it's the
turn off
second
all the
playtest
lanterns,
because we
hide in the
actually had a
darkness,
friends and
do that
family
stuff,
playtest before,
and
but like the first public
it
Steam
gives
playtest,
you more
um,
time before
you
someone
know,
else can see
that
you.
was one of the main things we want to
So if
test.
someone
So
does
we
come into the
had
room and you're in the middle of
multiple
darkness, you
maps,
have the
and
chance to
basically
make a
the
move
biggest
first.
difference was the different type of lighting schemes for those maps. And so if you look at like really old videos on YouTube of Dark and Darker, you'll see that people just boosted their gamma to the highest, the
So they can
brightness.
see through stuff.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, because they could see through stuff. And then and that was an awesome learning experience for us. We saw, okay, so you know, there's these sacrifices we have to make if we want to pretty up the game and stuff. Then people are gonna everyone's gonna start, because it is a hardcore kind of competitive. You know,
It
there's that
is.
element to the game, and
You
so
can have
people are
teamwork.
gonna
Like,
take
I've
any
met other
advantage they
people.
can. And so then we're like, oh man.
It is hardcore. We've had plenty of times where I was in a group and we were able to do the crouch spamming, and we kind of went our separate way, and that worked out well. There was also a time where I was playing with DOS as a 2-man, and we came across a solo rogue. We crouch spammed, and the solo rogue ended up becoming our unofficial third-party member for that run. The solo rogue joined us in a library. We shared some loot with them. We gave them a few things. We worked together. We ended up doing some PvP together, helping each other out. The rogue never stabbed us in the back. We didn't stab the rogue in the back. And we got to a point where we found the first escape portal, and I just did crouch spamming next to it, looking at the rogue to tell the rogue, "You go out first. We're in a party. We can communicate well. You just get out." And the rogue escaped.
And so
So
it
the
doesn't even
rogue
matter
that came in solo ended up having a 3-person party, and got to
if you
escape
pretty it up,
because
everyone's
ended up
just
working
going to do
together.
the maximum brightness, and it's going to look disgusting anyways, you know? So, yeah, okay, PS2 graphics, and let's focus on the mechanics. And then, but it was a blessing in disguise too, because as we started developing and going deeper into, okay, how can we still work
It is.
within
The dark
this,
in the game is amazing.
you know,
It's
the
just-
true blackness.
They've been
arcade,
doing
you know?
such good
They
work
started
with it.
figuring out other techniques to make it look.
So I'm not someone who really enjoys those PvP style games. So I'm not really someone who likes Rust or like PvP DayZ or PvP Rust, PvP DayZ, the official servers, because I'm not huge on PvP. It's not really my thing. But Dark and Darker pulled me in because PvP doesn't always happen in the game. And you can do some amazing things for the PvP in the game too.
Look a little bit
Like,
better.
it actually felt
so it's
good.
not like this horrid blocky
No,
2D.
The other cool thing is it also made people go back to Skyrim as well. My friend Das Tulip, after the last playtest of Dark and Darker ended, Das re-downloaded Skyrim and started playing Skyrim again. Because playing Dark and Darker kind of reminds you of Skyrim in a way.
Yes, yeah.
I love the lighting factors because, for example, if you turn a torch off and you hide in a corner, you can't be seen. So
Yeah.
like when I play as a rogue, I can actually sneak up on someone properly. Or
Yeah,
if
it's so good.
if there's a big room, you can turn off like half the room's lights, and your team can be hiding in that room. And you've got
Yep.
that option. Actually, and it just
So
feels immersive too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
once
so
I
exact-
found out that mechanic, because again, in the playtest before this last one, on all the early playtest stuff, I didn't really mess with the darkness. I didn't understand it enough, because again, I'm not a PvPer. I'm more of a PVMer in games. So I didn't understand that well, but I started getting into the flow of the game in the early playtest, and this last playtest, because I had PvP experience and understood more, I ended up doing so much better because started to understand how the PvP and how to find good hiding spots and using lights to your advantage and the dark to your
So
advantage.
the reason that we were able to come to that point was because our first playtest, that was what we were interested in. Because if we didn't have that experience you're talking about, that specific experience you're talking about right now.
And this game grew so much. The playtest grew so much because you had people like Wellen and Blueprint and stuff who started playing it as well. So you went, because before it was a lot of small streamers like myself. Like, I'm a tiny streamer. me streaming the game and my other friends who are all small streamers streaming the game doesn't really get it out that much. I think I probably got like 10 people, 10-ish people to start playing Dark and Darker on that earlier playtest. I got more people to start playing at this playtest as well. But in total, I've gotten less than probably 20 people to start playing the game. But those huge streamers, or the much larger streamers, well, in Blueprint and stuff, for them, they play the game once, and all of a sudden you can have hundreds of people start playing immediately, which grew the game so much. Like, I know that I don't have the reach to get it out like that.
Story. What we did is we had the multiple maps with different lightings. So there's 3 different lighting types, and then people are trying to hide with the rogue. In the first 2 lighting types, they couldn't do that. That play was because if you gamma boost it, you still see the outline, and then one of them you could basically it didn't matter. You gamma boost and far away you can still see there's 2 rogues hiding right there, right?
Okay.
And so the last one,
see, I didn't gamma boost. I didn't gamma boost at all in the old playtest. But again, my mind wasn't in for that. I'm not a PvPer.
So I memorized all the layouts, and I could tell like, oh, this module is the super dark one. And in that map, one of the streamers in our first playtest did exactly what you're talking about with the and this was one of the fantasies that we said we had to fulfill, right? Is that kind of sneaky rogue assassin style play, and that actually
okay, we're gonna skip forward. I want to see this section.
Currently, we've got.
We're gonna pause for a second, actually. But no, it is good because it's also you can dig at information yourself, like me and my graph on armor rating, to try and understand how the game works. Like my graph on armor rating and physical damage reduction, it kind of just gives you a little information about the thought process of, oh, okay, let's go with a you get armor rating quickly at the start, then you have this section where you don't get much armor rating, but if you really, really want to go tanky and focus on armor rating gear, you can start jumping up really quick. And it jumps up faster. Like this curve, I didn't have the data to put into this curve, but this curve starts going up really quickly. So, it's interesting stuff. And then, I mean, I showed the clip before, but we're going to see it again, because this was a clip about that exact thing of taking advantage of the darkness. I mean, I just showed this a few minutes ago, but again, exactly. We turned off the lamps in this corner, I hung in the darkness, and I got a huge outplay in a 3-person party.
I'm reloading.
Because I just made use of darkness.
You got him! Get him!
Okay, they're all dead.
Yeah, baby!
Yeah, so the darkness ended up being such an amazing thing here. Let's pull that back over here. Yeah. You see, I love having these conversations on stream. Like, I enjoy being able to have conversations like this on stream. It is a lot of fun. I am going to quickly... Because I am supposed to be playing Frozen Flame today. Supposed to be playing Frozen Flame today. I'm going to go ahead and get another batch of Sky Crystals going. And then I want to take a look at the class section. Okay, but I have things going again. So let's go ahead and check the class section of this video now.
6 classes, 8 classes?
Yeah, 6 classes right now.
6 classes. You're
this
probably going
is
to add
me. I want
a
to hear
fair
about
few
this.
more. Do you have like a list of the ones that you want to add?
Well, so the only one we've confirmed so far. Okay, so
the Bard. The Bard is supposed to come.
Before I talk about the classes, I'll just
because
so
they
just
mentioned
so
the Bard
know,
early on, but the Bard's not in the game.
Our goal with the game is so I joke with another. I forget who it was.
But yeah, no, as someone who's a PVMer, I'm somehow addicted to PvP Dark and Darker game.
Goal for Dark and Darker is we want to like all those classic.
And I fell in love with it, and I've had so many good plays. I've had so many good solo runs.
That's not a bad thing.
Solo fighter is actually really nice and simple.
Something becoming
I wasn't huge on solo rogue.
For us, that's our game.
Mainly because for solo rogue and Darker, I felt like I had to go in there with gear. As a solo rogue, I didn't feel like I could go in with the basic gear and do well. Whereas solo fighter, I can go in with basic gear. Excuse me, burping a lot. Pick up gear really easily for my fighter and keep going. And solo wizard is, if you can catch people off guard, wizard is so powerful, both PvP and PvE, that you could do it solo in basic gear.
If it's traditional classic fantasy, there's a very high likelihood that we're going to somehow try to encapsulate that back into Dark and Darker, right? So it goes back with our classes. So if you see our class,
I did a lot of solo runs early, but later on it became I only really wanted to run duo. I didn't mind running trio, but duo was my favorite. I didn't really running solo is stressful. Running duo, every run in the game can be stressful no matter what it is, but running duo and running trio felt less stressful because you had teammates. It was stressful to escape because you had to try and get as many of you out as possible, but it wasn't as stressful to play because you had help to kill the monsters. And you didn't necessarily have to be as sneaky around other players because you had more people so you could fight. Solo, it's all about patience, so much patience, knowing the map and the monster layout really well so you know, like, oh, I'm solo wizard, I know what this room is like, I can't clear this room fast enough, so I'm not going to go this way. And it just becomes a huge big thing, but it's because it's all about patience, taking it slow and trying to get the things that you can. It's so stressful because all it takes is one bad encounter with either monsters or a group of people or a group of other players, and you can get killed so easily.
They're very, like the 6 classes right now. We started with what we felt were the most basic traditional fantasy classes, but at the same time, we know we're missing out on a lot of them. And so the one that we've confirmed that's coming next, but it's not going to be in this playtest. So
I can't wait for this
I think it's going
playtest.
to take a little bit longer than we expected. But the next one coming is going to be the Bard.
Yep.
And
Yeah, which we knew about.
Personally, I played a Bard in
The reason we knew the Bard was coming is if you go... Okay, that was weird. Came up with an error message, but I got to do things. But yeah, the reason we knew the Bard was coming is if you go down here, in the description, it actually says it. Choose a role and party up. Play as a brawny barbarian holding the front lines while your sharp-eyed ranger friend fires arrows from afar and your merry bard sustains morale with a lively tune. So they mentioned the Bard at that point, so we knew that a Bard was going to come into the game.
I was pushing really hard for, okay, next class has to be the Bard.
Bard?
And then...
Bard's going to be tough, though, in a game like this. Because if it's going to be doing, like, bardic songs, it's going to be really hard not to make a lot of noise. I mean, all the spells, like cleric spells make noise. Wizard spells make noise. So I guess it'll be like that. But if the Bard song has to be sustained...
traditional...
If the Bard is not like the cleric and the wizard, where it's... You have the sound on the cast and then it's done. If the Bard sound is sustained, it's going to make the Bard really hard to play. But if it's like Cleric and Wizard, where it's just like...
for SDF, what he says
you get the sound of the spell when it goes off, and then it's quiet after that. Then I think Bard can work in the game.
To feel special, right? So the way you play it should feel like, oh, okay, this is unique. So, and I think we did a fairly good job with the 6 classes we have right now.
They are. They do feel pretty different.
Our idea for how we're going to implement the Bard is going to be very unique and feel special also. And so, so we have a lot of different ideas.
I want the Bard to be unique and special, but again, I want the casting to be like the other casters. If it's too different from other casters, it's going to be a problem.
Typical other traditional fantasy games, please expect it. There's a very high likelihood that you're going to see it in Dark and Darker eventually.
Yeah, I know you've touched on in a previous cast that we were going to have like races for each of the classes and all that. Is this to also like, I know there'll be little perks and appearance and all that. It's to kind of give the person who's playing that class their chance to give their own identity. Are you going to also do stuff like character customization to see how you can change how your face looks and all that kind of stuff as well?
Okay, so
they can. I don't care that much about the character customization. Like, it's not as important.
The DLC.
We'll take a look at it.
And then. So
send it to me, Unforgiven. We won't take a look at it immediately, but we'll take a look at it soon.
Oh, why did you say that? And it's like, why?
I wanted to surprise him.
I'd rather the game come together as a whole game before the customization comes into play. Like, it's cool. It's a cool thing. There's only one thing I want to take a look at. I want to take a look at this. I saw the solo queue.
If you were going to do this, you could do a solo queue, and then you also go in with duos. And the duos could go with trios, but you wouldn't have the solos with the trios. That makes sense. The duos could be randomized, or it'd be a solo with the option to go with everyone.
Because they mentioned this before that they wanted to do solo queue.
Did it.
During
saying you
the
want to do it or
previous
not, but
playtest, the
the
playtest
only
before
way
the
I
most
could see it
recent
happening,
one,
because if you just had
they
solos, I
mentioned
feel
during
like
it
it would
that
be,
they
I
wanted
don't
to do
know.
solo queue at
Yeah.
some point.
So okay, so this is things that we're considering also.
Yep.
And so I'll tell you right now, like the normal and the high roller. One of the reasons we want to test this out right now is that
All right, cool. I'm forgiven.
at least with the normal
We are going to go out and gather
dungeons,
some more mithril
we're
before we
gonna
do anything
have
else, though.
the way we place the starting spawn. So I'm sure you guys, when you played the most recent playtest, there were some really god awful starting spots.
There
Oh my
were
God,
some
you would
god
start
awful
right next
starting
to,
spots.
and that was actually my fault. I'm the guy that made that
We
level.
blame
And I was
you.
like, oh. And so that
Like,
was
especially for solos.
feedback for us. Saying, okay,
like duo trios. If you're a duo trio, almost any starting point is fine. But if you're a solo, and then one of your first rooms that's in front of you is a room that has like 4 enemies in it, it's really hard. You can do it, but it's really hard to get through without taking a bunch of damage.
okay, we got to put a little bit more
Yes,
thought
exactly.
into how we're going to do
There were
these,
some of those, like the
starting
elites were
spawns,
sucky no matter what.
locations, and that's going to give people that kind of feeling of tension right from the get-go, or oh, this is insurmountable. Like I'm a solo and I start right next to a 3-man squad, right?
Yeah,
and
that
so
happened a lot to
before we
me.
go to the easiest solution, just like solo queue, to us, that's just, we like having these kind of design challenges to kind of make us think a little
It
bit.
is fine
try
to
a little
have
bit harder
solos
to
in
figure
the
out a
bigger
solution that
dungeons
might
with the
end up
duos and
being
trios.
even better
It's an
overall,
interesting
and
concept
it's
to it.
I guess the vision for the project itself. So the reason we're not just doing straight up solo queue right from the get-go right now is because when we envision Dark and Darker, like I said, it's that you're playing traditional fantasy, filling those roles, dungeon crawling with your buddies. And
Sure, we got enough information there. All right, let's go back to the game for now.